Dave, this is a kind of a difficult guess to explain. Would you take your?
Well, you remember the comedian, the SNL comedian Chris Farley,
of course,
right? And perhaps my favorite character, and perhaps yours as well, was his motivational speaker.
Right.
You know, down by the river guy.
Yeah.
Matt Foley.
Yeah.
Well, we found the original Matt Foley, who's the inspiration for the bit.
Oh, well, let's get him on.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is the Minutia Man Celebrity Interview with Rick and Dave.
So I feel like we should also, before we get to our guest, go back down memory lane a little bit and listen to a little bit of Matt Foley on Saturday Night Live. It goes like this.
All right, how's everybody? Good. Now, as your father probably told you, my name is Matt Foley, and I am a motivational speaker. Now, let's get started by letting me give you a little bit of a scenario of what my life is all about. First off, I am 35 years old, I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
There it is. It's such a classic. There's actually a comedian here in Chicago. I don't know if you know about this, Matt. That does Matt Foley. That's his bit. He travels around doing personal appearances as Matt Foley. But you are the real one. We don't have Chris on the show. We don't have the comedian. We have something even better than that. We have the real Matt Foley. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you for reaching out and having me on. Yes, that is correct. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there of people impersonating the real Chris Farley, but there is no way of capturing Chris. He's just outstanding and quite an effort on his part.
Yeah, no question. Now, you don't live in a van by the river. We know this. In fact, you're a priest. Isn't that right?
Correct. And Chris was there when I got ordained, and Chris was there when he saw me do my first mass, and I heard many Chris Farley confessions.
Well, we have no time constraints here, Matt. If you have
no, there's
a privilege there.
Yeah, the
right?
confidentiality.
Yeah, that's all sealed. That's all sealed up. But a lot of that stuff, people love sin better than love grace, and unfortunately, there's a lot of Chris's exploits and sins out there for people to consume.
Yeah, that's true. But so you guys were friends going way back. Let's talk about how you met Chris in the first place.
So I was the president of the Marquette Rugby Club. I was a sophomore, 1982. Chris was a freshman.
Oh, same age as us. Exactly.
You were born in '63, right? You were born in '63.
Yeah, I was born in '62. Chris was born in '64.
Okay.
But Chris is, Chris showed up at King Field, Dr. Martin Luther King Field, just north of the campus at Marquette. Pretty tough field to play on, and showed up in Docksiders and a pink shirt and Argyle shorts, and he showed up for practice like that. And this portly young man that was very preppy at that time, I thought this poor soul is just going to get, hazed to no end. But little did we know he would take over the team and take over the life of Marquette with great entertainment. So Chris, was quite an image to see the first time I saw him.
So even back in college, you knew that he was a thing, right? Or, I don't know. I can't even imagine having Chris Farley. Like, Rick's my college friend, and quite frankly, not all that exciting.
Right.
But Chris Farley, my God, having him as a college friend. Tell us.
Chris was a show stealer. He was just, you couldn't top him. There was one, as a freshman, usually you live in the shadows, but he never lived in any shadow. He, one time we were at a backyard, they'd have these big beer trucks pull up at Marquette, the drinking age 18, and these big Kager trucks pulled up in
Wisconsin. Wait a minute, they were drinking.
You didn't have
Wisconsin?
any. There was no carbohydrates there, were there?
Yeah, just one or two, just carbo training. But he, a bunch of the rugby guys got up on the top of the truck and started dancing to the music. And of course, people yelled, "Take your clothes off!" And Chris was up there. Everybody got down after one, but Chris was down to his skivvies, still up there, 2-3 songs going on. You think of you see that Patrick Swayze,
right.
thing. That was Chris before Saturday Night Live. That's who he was.
The Chippendale, at heart, a Chippendale dancer.
You could not body shame Chris Farley.
No, that's great. That's why it's funny.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny.
So, tell us the first time that you saw Chris use your name for his iconic character. Okay, tell us that story.
Did he tell you in advance?
No. So what happened? He was at Second City on Wall Street, and I was on the west side of Chicago in North Lawndale, and I could go see Chris. I don't drink. I didn't drink at the time, and so I could go see Chris late night. And I went and saw his show, and I went by myself, and we were going to hang out afterwards. And he had developed that character with Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a development of his combination of his dad and his old football high school coach at Edwidge High in Madison, Wisconsin. So he came out, and if he knew somebody was in the audience, he would use their name. So example, he'd come out if Brandon Herman was sitting in the audience, he would say, "My name is Brandon Herman, and I am a motivational speaker." And so he comes out of that door, just like he does on that skit with David Spade, comes out that door and says, "My name is Matt Foley, and I'm a motivational speaker." So we went out afterwards, and I kind of slunk down in my seats, but nobody knew he was talking about me. He said to me afterwards when we're out at the bar with a lot of the cast members, and he said, "Hey, I'm never going to change that name." So then he brings it to Saturday Night Live. He calls me the night it's going to go on and says, "Yeah, you're going to be on TV tonight, and you better watch." I said, "I'll watch," because I always did. I always supported him from a distance, and there he was in all his glory.
Oh, wow. So from the time that he used your name at Second City to the time it was on Saturday Night Live, what kind of period of time was that?
I think about 3 or 4 years before he got it out. Chris, when you start as a first-year person at Saturday Night Live, you're kind of more in the reserve role, so to speak.
Right.
And then as he became that guy that was like, this guy's really funny, and he had his own, the Chris Farley show, and interviewing guys like Paul McCartney. And,
do you remember the time you were in the Beatles?
That was one of my favorite bits of all time.
So they saw his skill set. They saw his charisma, and then he brought that character out.
So let me ask you this. The notoriety that you have because of this, does that help or hurt your current work as a priest? Do people ever say to you, as your, Father Foley, just coming to the, the local garden club to talk to the ladies, do they ever say,
do the van
by the river thing?
It's always been a blessing. I mean, it really has. I've been riding his coattails for a long time. It's really gave me an inroad to a lot of different communities. Now, it's been, he's been gone almost 26 years.
Yeah. Oh,
so it's a little bit different. You got to talk to old people like me. The young ones don't have an
mature, Matt, not old. We're the same age. It's mature.
Yeah. So, it's not like Taylor Swift, it's not a big hit. So, but he opened up a lot of doors for me and speaking to a lot of different people. It was really helpful. To be quite frank, it was really helpful when I was in the Army because I would use that skit for some of my training videos that we would use, and I'd use that skit about going home and not doing something stupid on deployments. So it was very helpful, very, very helpful.
I find it fascinating. You joined the Army at age 45. Rick and I could barely walk when we hit 45.
They wouldn't have taken us, I'll be honest with you.
I think this is, let's go into this a little bit. You joined the Army at 45. Tell us about that journey. It's not typical, obviously.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get into the missions in Africa. And then my boss said, I don't want you to do that. So I said, how about the Army? My uncle had been a Army chaplain in Vietnam. He did 2 tours. My brother was at that time a lieutenant colonel, my college roommate at Marquette. I roomed with both of them. We're both in the Army. And after 9/11, and then of course going into 2 countries, we were so short of chaplains. I said, well, let me go into the Army. I've always wanted to do that. I had a great example. And so I went in at 45, and the Army put me into the 82nd Airborne. I learned how to jump out of planes, and then did 4 deployments from 2008 until 2013. I was very blessed. It was great. Kevin Farley came over my first deployment with the Lieutenant Dan Band, and did some emceeing there. So I was able to capture some time with him, which was really cool.
Wow.
So it was a wonderful, wonderful place to be in the Army.
The Lieutenant Dan Band, that's with Gary Sinise, right? Is he?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Wow. That's pretty
And,
cool.
Kevin, yeah, it was really cool. I mean, it was great. I wish Chris would have been alive. He would have been over there entertaining troops, and that would have been really a blessing. But his brother was there, and Kevin and I have kept in
I
contact.
met Kevin a couple of times over there. I used to be in radio in Chicago, and these guys would come in as guests. When Farley was on, Chris was on, several times at the radio station. His brother came by, and I got to know his brother a little bit. His brother sounds exactly like him. Like he could do the voices of Chris if you needed it, like to go back in the movie. And he's actually done this a few times.
Like to overdub or something?
Yeah, like
That's
overdub stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just saw him the other day up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, doing some of his stand-up comedy, so it was great.
Were you at the
seeing
Mars
him
Cheese
and touching
Castle?
base.
Was it the Mars Cheese Castle? Where?
No.
What?
It was an exotic hotel along the coast of Kenosha. Really.
Matt, what's your favorite cheese? We got everybody from Wisconsin. We ask, what's your favorite cheese? Is it a peppercorn? What is it?
I kind of like Colby.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
That's a first Colby answer.
So you're in our neck of the woods. You're in Arlington Heights. We're actually in Mount Prospect right now.
Yeah. Could have had you live in the studio.
So tell us what you're doing now. I mean, I went on you're doing some wonderful work, and tell us what's going on now.
Well, I got moved out of Arlington Heights, better known as Action Heights. Now I'm on the south side of Chicago.
Oh,
okay.
In Gage Park, and I am at a place called St. Gall St. Simon, and I'm in a pretty much all Latino community between University of Chicago and Midway Airport. So it's really action-packed down here.
Gage Park is where Martin Luther King had one of his rallies.
And Marquette Park.
Yeah,
Marquette Park is right down the street from me.
Yeah.
Are you a Sox fan or are you a Brewer fan? Probably.
I'm a Brewer fan. Sorry.
Are you a Packer fan too?
Correct.
This was going so well.
So I want to tell you a little story, and I need actually a priest's point of view here because I don't think I've ever mentioned this to a priest. So I
hope you're sitting down, Matt. This one's going to be a little rough.
Okay, so
yeah, I've heard it all. He can't talk.
Okay.
So I was as a groomsman at Rick's wedding
32 years ago.
32 years ago. And
Congratulations.
yeah,
Thank you.
To me or him, whatever you think. And during the Mass, I don't have to tell you, there's a point where you have to take communion, right? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Correct.
not of the faith. Well, don't you think that Rick should have warned the Jewish guy what was going to happen on during the Mass? Because all that night, it
was bad. It was bad.
After
Father
the Mass,
Foley.
everybody came up to me and go, "Is that the body of Christ in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?" Because I didn't know what to do, and I put it in my pocket. I had no idea. But don't you think Rick should have mentioned something to me beforehand?
Yeah, he set you up for failure.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Right.
It's my fault.
Right. There's a motivational speak. You can use that as
You
a
could hear
motivation.
the gasps in the church, Father. I mean, you could hear the gasps. Like, what is he doing?
So how
You
can
guys are still together. That's wonderful.
Yeah, we are somehow.
Right, when he said anniversary, it's our anniversary of 32 years. We actually got married. We're the ones who got married. So how can Matt tell us how people can follow what you're doing, great work you're doing, keep in touch, all that?
Well, I'm, you can find me on Facebook and you can find me on Instagram. And you can also go to St. Gall website and you can see what we're doing down here on the great south side of Chicago. But, I try to, work and serve and just keep a low profile if at all possible. I enjoy just keeping under the radar if all possible.
Which masses are you covering this weekend?
Well, we got 8 masses here. So
wow.
I am actually doing, I think, 4 or 5 of them. And I'm preaching at all of them. because we sometimes take turns like that. So I'm at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, and then 1 at 7 p.m.
Can I ask you an inside priest question?
Okay. Rick's Catholic.
Yeah, I'm Catholic too.
Okay.
When you do a lot of masses like that, are you repeating your material? Do you have like let's say you're doing the 9 o'clock and the 1 o'clock? You're pretty sure you're not going to get repeat customers, so you're pretty much running your same material?
Yeah, correct. I mean, I preach. We work together on Monday morning and work on our message, and then we fine tune it throughout the week, and then it's the same message. Now I preach in both English and Spanish, so sometimes.
Do you really?
You're gonna have different examples. Yeah, 6 Spanish masses and 2 in English. So,
wow, you speak fluent Spanish.
Yeah, I served in Mexico for 6 years, from '94 to 2000. That's when Chris died, when I was in Mexico.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was I had to come back for his funeral and put him in the ground.
When was the last time you had seen him alive?
I saw him that summer. I came up and we went out and hung out with the Cheesecake Factory. He was living he had a rented apartment at John Hancock.
Right,
Hung
yeah.
out that day, went and worked out. And, Chris liked to work out, and so we worked out at one of the clubs downtown, and then went to Cheesecake Factory and hung out pretty much the whole day.
The Cheesecake Factory in the Hancock underneath.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I used to work in that building, and that's how I ended up seeing Chris as much as I did, because I worked at the Loop radio station, and that they were.
Yeah, Mancow was there too.
Mancow was friends with him, right? And they hung out a little bit.
Of sorts. I think they kind of a mutual.
Like showbiz friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Not real like Matt Foley friends.
Not that I knew of.
Yeah. Well, Matt, this has been a thrill for us. I can tell that you're a good guy just by talking to you.
And thank you for serving.
Yes.
All the service you've done.
As a
military.
Catholic, let me just say also, thank you for all you're doing in the church.
Thank you for citing with me that Rick did that should have mentioned something before.
Yeah, he should not have allowed you to feel like that.
Yeah, it's my fault. But thanks for being on the show, Matt, and best to you.
Oh, God bless you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Bye-bye.
And when he says God bless you,
that
means something.
There's some credence.
That means something.
Yeah, right. Good guy.
Well, yeah. Thank you. That was kind of a fun chat. I mean,
you want minutia.
I never really would have thought that
there's a real person behind.
That there was a real person, number one.
Right.
And number two, that it was a priest.
Yeah.
Based on that character. It was kind of a...
Well, he's his name. It was.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
And thank you for Brandon Herman for booking the guys.
Yes. We should also thank our executive producer, Tony Lasano, with Opie Shows. Opie is hippo, spelled backwards. OPPIAH shows. We should thank Ed Silla with Radio Misfits.
Distributing our show.
Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com. And we'll be back again soon with a brand new episode of
Minutia Men Celebrity.
The preceding was a presentation of Opie Productions. Find our other great shows wherever you find podcasts, including opishows.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?